share with you guys as well. So just a brief background about what I do. I thought, I'll be talking to students, which I assume most of you guys are. So I put my background. So my background is in accounting and finance. And currently I'm the head of Making a Difference for short, we call it MAD, in the Leaderonomics, which is an organization that um, an organization that does leadership development and training. And I'm also the co-founder of Future which we have been running for about 6 years now. So what we do is that we run a food catering delivery business, but our chefs are all refugees that are living currently in Malaysia. So I guess the question here today is that, the big topic that we are always very interested in, like, can you really make a change? And I think, I'm not sure if I want to ask this question, but how many of you guys here, wants to do good, wants to make a change, wants to make a change in someone's life, or even your life? Yes. Yeah. So I think like most of us here, like we want to make a change, want to make a difference, but it's just that we don't know how, right? We think that we have to be rich, we have to become Mother Teresa or Muhammad Gandhi and things like that, where and that is how we can make a change. So today, I just want to share a little bit of my journey, specifically in Picha and how it started. Yes. So back in 2013, which is very long time ago, how I started this journey is where a friend of mine, I was still a university student at that time, so a friend of mine actually asked me, hey Swee, do you want to do some volunteering? Are you free this weekend? Do you want to pop up in this refugee learning center? And I say, yeah, sure, why not, right? Because as I guess as a university student, we are sort of quite free, we have time to you have some time, right, to give out to do something good. So I said yes, and from that time, from 2013, fast forward to this is the picture of the visitation, and fast forward to about 3 years later, I started. So in that 3 years, I started to do volunteering. I started to teach in the refugee learning center. Where is it? Yeah, so as I was saying, so like, in that 3 years, I was teaching English, math, science together with my friends in uni and things like that. And fast forward 3 years is where I met Picha, this boy. So Picha is actually from Myanmar. And so just to go back to basic, like how many of you guys know what is refugees? Or who knows what is refugees? Roughly, yeah? No? Okay. So just to give a bit of background, like refugees in the world currently, there are about 84 million refugees in the world. And these numbers are growing, and the reason why these numbers are growing is because those who are forced to leave, the refugees are forced to leave their country due to war, like what's happening between Ukraine and Russia now, and or persecution like what's happening in Myanmar, or danger that they face back in their home country. So 84 million of them are forced to leave their home country to a new place to live a new life, right? And in Malaysia currently, there's close to about 180,000 registered refugees in Malaysia. And these numbers is not reducing, these numbers is constantly increasing day by day. And because Malaysia is not part of the 1951 UN Refugee Convention, what does this mean? This means that the 180,000 registered refugees in Malaysia, they are not allowed to work, their kids can't go to any form of formal education like all of us here, and healthcare, basic healthcare is basically we don't have it. They don't have it because Malaysia did not sign the 1951 UN Convention. So what happened in that 3 years, from 2013 to 2016, what happens is that every single week, close to 2016, every single week, my class, the class that I taught, from 20 people reduced to 18 to 15, 10, 5, none. And we started to ask, why my student doesn't want to have it's like boring, maybe it's boring, or what is it, right? So we started to question and to ask them to so there's this one visitation that we did to their home. We actually asked their parents, why your kids, why don't you want to send your kids to school? And they say that I rather my kids, earn a living for us. I rather my kids earn some income for us. So imagine when you are 10 years old or 15 years old, you are forced, not forced, but you have no choice. You have no choice but to, instead of studying, you have no choice but to work for your family just to earn that few $100 for your family. But for them, that few $100 is livelihood, right? So we actually explored this. So we were thinking, we want to do something, as university students, as fresh grad at that time, we want to do something good. But how can we do something good at the same time so that our parents doesn't say, hey, why are you not working? why give me some money, right? So how can we still do good, but at the same time still be able to support still be able to support ourselves and our parents so that we can answer, right, to our parents. So we started to explore this option where we know that every single mom in the refugee community can cook. And this is actually Picha's mom, the boy that I introduced to you earlier. So at that time, Picha was just 3 years old. And everybody, keep asking us, why did we name our company? Why did we name our business as Picha is? It's because, later I'll tell you why, but so this is Picha's mom. Her name is Genu. And she is our first chef. Our first chef that actually cooked in Picha itself. So when we first started, we were still in universities and things like that. So how did we actually make this work? We actually basically literally go to our friends in the university and ask, hey, you need lunch, right? Why don't you buy from me? And at the same time, you can actually help our family here. And everybody actually said yes. So that's how we actually started the business, the Pichai's business, about 6 years back. And so now I just wanted to share a video just to summarize what we have been doing for the last 6 years, because 6 years is a very long time.
When we talk about food, what comes to mind? The look, the smell, the taste, and the emotions. What about rebuilding lives? Presenting Picha Eats. We serve you delicious food. Catering for your events. Delivering meal boxes and mini buffet to your doorsteps, all with our friendly and awesome services. What's more important? Transforming the lives of our chefs, turning them into powerful leaders who can put food on the table for their family. Picha Eats is ready to bring you a deeper sense in food, to your tummy and your heart.
Yeah, so that's basically, I just wanted to share. I just wanted to share, what we have been doing for the last 6 years, and currently we do like what you guys see in the video, like we do buffet catering, mini buffet, which is like events and meal boxes. And during the pandemic, we actually came up with a new line called the Ready to Eat Meal on Ding, if you guys know, where it is actually the frozen section in Pitra now. And so we have been doing buffet catering for the last 6 years to big companies, party packages, meal boxes delivery, and so far over the years we have contributed about 6 million or so to the community. So how we actually run this business, we have a business model where it is a social enterprise. So a social enterprise is basically if you take like a commercial business like say Petronas and as an NGO like UNHCR, but social enterprise is basically what's in the middle sort of. But if we still run it as a business, it's just that our main part in the business is for the refugee community. when we first started and now. So we have a business model where we call it the 50-50 business model, where every sales that comes in, 50% will actually go to the refugee community, and so for them to be able to cover their rental, school fees, and things like that, and 50% will actually cover our cost of operation, staff, manpower, and so on. And I think so far, like I think the number has grown. Like we have served many corporates in Malaysia, in KL, and also we have went to different countries, pitch our idea. And maybe you might ask, right, why did we actually go to different countries? Because usually different countries, they are usually more open to listening to these ideas, because it is a very different business model. It is a very, I mean, in a way, it's very weird ideas now. I think when we first started, many people actually came to us and said, oh no, like your business won't work. Oh no, like why do you want to get into this business where it's like it's a very gray business, because there's no one can actually say this is actually sort of like legal, but then we managed to run it for the last 6 years through consulting lawyers, talking to different people, the government and things like that. And I think we have won like different awards. We me and my partners, we have listed under Forbes 30, the Prestige 40, and so on. And I think all of these things, like I think today I just wanted to share. 3 lessons that I've learned throughout my journey. Of course, there are more, but I try to consolidate to 3. So I think first thing is that I realized we all think that I think as students, right, we always have this goal where after we graduate, that's the end of it. But I think once now I hit 29, where I realized that in every phase, not in every phase, but then like in different phase of my life, is learning. I think learning is something that we have to keep on learning, because learning doesn't end when you are 25 or 35 or 45. We have to always keep on learning, and and keep on exploring and do not stop learning. And the lesson 2 is that I wanted to share that I always believe that small things matter. I think every single one of us here, we always want to do big things, right? We want to climb, we want to be the CEO of this, we want to do this, we want to do this. But imagine imagine, let's say you're Elon Musk, it wouldn't happen if there's no the engineers that does the groundwork, right? If there's no the small things that we do. And I think like if someone were to come to me and ask me, how did we actually manage to grow the business to where it is today, I wouldn't say it's a big business, but I think it's a good enough business to keep our chef livelihoods to keep our chef livelihood stable and sustainable, right? But I think all of these things actually comes from the small things that we do. For example, let's say cold calling, sending an email out, sending a late email out, posting a social media caption or things like that. So every single thing matters. And I think also like in our life, I think we throughout the journey, I think we have to find like small things matter, including the small joys. The small joy in life, like for example, let's say you manage to do one call and the person on the other hand actually is being nice to you, and then that is a joy, right? And I think this is just some pictures I wanted to share where we actually did a Valentine's event, and yeah, basically we did everything at the time. And lesson 3 is that I think what I wanted to share here is that we all have the capacity to make a change, and I think in this life, it's not just about me or you, or I think there's more than that, right? So I wanted to share one story that is close to my heart, which is this man right here. So if you see the man right here, his name is Zaza, and the wife and the kid, right? So the wife name is Rania, and the kid name is Pine. So a bit of background is that Zaza actually came from Syria. So he came from Syria. He is a professional chef in Saudi Arabia, and they live in this place in Syria called Raqqa, a very small town. So what happened is that one day Rania actually took baby time, so that time he was just 1 year old. Rania actually took time to the hospital to get his vaccination. But during along the journey, actually there's a bomb that flew by them and actually perished the building beside them. So Rania actually took time back home because she thought that, as a mom, she thought that, this is just too dangerous. And I don't think we should continue the journey. So she actually took time back home and only to realize that actually the next day, every single baby that got the vaccination actually passed away. And the reason why all the babies passed away is because the vaccination took too long to reach to where they are at that time. So Zaza, as a head of family, he thought, this is not the life that I want my boy to grow up. This is too dangerous, it's uncertain, there's no future here, there's no life here. So what he did is that he trusted an agent in Malaysia. He sold everything that he had, all the assets that he had in Syria. He sold everything here, trusted an agent to come to Malaysia, and the agent actually promised things like, house, a safe place to stay, education for the kids, and a job, right? Only to realize that once he is in Malaysia, actually that none of that is real. And I think just to give an idea of how much will it cost, I think it depends. Now, it can cost like, one person it costs like about 10,000 USD to actually bring or to sort of smuggle someone in. But I'm not sure the numbers, but that's what I heard. So when he is in Malaysia, Zaza was homeless for a few days until a kind another Syrian person actually took him in. And after a year, we actually met him, and Zaza actually is part of Picha now. So we actually work with Zaza quite a bit, and Zaza is actually our second chef in Picha, second or third chef in Picha East, where personally, I remember the first time that I went into their house. I think there's always this perception, right, where when it's a foreigner, when it's a Middle East person, you are not sure when you go into their house, you're not sure whether it's safe or not. How will they react? How will I react? I mean that is the reality, the perception that that has been ingrained in us, right? But only to find out that once we step into the house, I mean the amount of hospitality is just very mind blowing, right? So to give you an example, like Zaza is a type of person that will cook an extra meal for his neighbor. Zaza is the type of person that will cook an extra meal for the guard in front of his house. So that is the kind of person that Zaza is. Always one. I mean, he's always a giving person, right? But in early 2017, we found out that Zaza actually had cancer, and then he passed away like 2 months. 2 months after that. And I think just to share a little bit more is that even during his hospitalization and things like that, like I mentioned earlier, right, healthcare is not an option. So what we did, literally, one of us, sometimes we involve our parents as well, have to drive to the hospital, pay the deposit, because if not, the hospital wouldn't treat Zaza. So that is the kind of treatment that refugees actually face in Malaysia. So during when he's in the hospital, when we thought that he's going to make it, but he didn't. So during the hospital, time where there are a few instances where 2 weeks before he passed away, he actually sat us down and said, after I come out from the hospital, I want to distribute chicken mandi to the masjid, to the poor people around the masjid area. Or even during his hospital bed, he actually writes menu, because at that time it was it was close to Ramadan, so we wanted to come out with some menus, and that is when he is at the hospital bed. But unfortunately, he didn't make it. So it is very heartbreaking where a man like that would lose his life sort of twice. One in Syria, two Malaysia, and now losing his life to cancer. And even then, his mind is still thinking of other people, the people around his housing area, even in Picha as well. Like, you actually don't need to think of the business, because technically you're supposed to focus only on your how, right? Why are you still thinking to come up menu on behalf of us? So after his passing, we actually come up with this movement called the Zaza movement, where basically what the Zaza movement is actually a movement where people can actually donate, and we get the chef to cook, and we actually distribute the meals to whoever that needs it. And I think I think like we always think like Zaza is always there to help us, like no matter even the smallest thing. For example, like let's say, I mean, we are all humans, right? And at that time things are not automated. So things like, oh shit, we forgot an order, or like, oh shit, we forgot to bring this. So let's say we forgot an order, we will call him and say, oh Zaza, can you make this order? And then immediately you will say, yeah, don't worry, I got this, I will make the order. But even after his passing, in 2020, when all of us are being hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, most of our, we also, part of our business, we also run the catering business. But as all of you all know, catering, usually we serve catering events, weddings, events, right? So, and during the pandemic, there's no events. So what happened at that time is that, if you all remember, that people who sent food to the hospital for the medical crews, that are people that sent food to the B40, the PPR community, and things like that. And even at that time, although our catering was down, people actually are willing, and people actually we actually believe the Zaga movement, and people actually are willing to put in money. Companies are supporting the movement. Like normal people are supporting the movement and things like that. And even now when I think about it, even now when I think of it, back then, is that even when Zaza is not here, he's actually helping us, because without the Zaza movement, our chef, the other 15 families, the other chef that we have, wouldn't be able to survive the pandemic, because we don't have any sale, because there's no events, there's no catering, there's no one who actually order from us for their event, because there's no event, right, at that time. Yeah, and I think the question here is that, how can you be you to make a change, right? I think looking back at just an example of Zaza, where Zaza comes from Syria, he basically is no one, right? But that no one actually can do something, can do something for the driver. Even until today, the driver remembers him. Even when he is in the hospital, our client will text us and say, oh, how is Zaza? And who actually paid the hospital bill is the supporters and the client that we are actually serving. Because people remember, when we ask for help, people actually remember, oh, actually I had his food, and his food is lovely, it's great, so I want to contribute something. So I think, from just for me, like I think from learning from this man right here, after losing everything that he had, even until today when he is not here anymore, we still remember him by the Zaza movement, and even through that, we still managed to bring some. I mean, he still managed to make a change, right? Because without the Zaza movement, we wouldn't be here today. So I think the question for me to throw back to you guys is that, we always think that we have to be, like I said earlier, like someone, like a CEO of a company, we have to make millions before we can help someone. We can, we have to be the Mother Teresa, we have to be the next Prime Minister, we have to be the next CEO or whatever. But I think it's looking back to where we are, even as students or as teachers or staff here or anyone, right? You can actually make a change here. And I think what keeps me going is that, just by saying that, the individuals that we have impacted, all of our kids went to school, although it's not formal education, but at least they have some form of education. And today, like, I'm part of Leaderomics, and Leaderomics, what we do is that we want to be able to teach leadership development training to the kids. So we teach from the youth to an adult, because we believe that education is something that will change. Because I believe that education is something that will change someone's life. So I think, as all of us here, today, we are all very much of a privileged person, right? I mean, whether we come from a poor or rich family or whatever background, we are somewhat privileged because we can study. It's just that simple. Because we can study, hence, so I feel that, because we have this power of just choosing, I want to study this today, tomorrow I want to go here, today I want to eat this, tomorrow I want to do this. Just to be able to choose, I think that is a privilege already. And yeah, so I think and today I think Picha is I think he's about 9 or 10 years old, and he is actually in school, and this is what keeps all of us in the team going. And I also want to just share, like, whatever that you see, yes, there's a prestige, like, Fox 30, people are like, oh wow, things like that. But I think to come back to the roots, right? Like I know that me and my team, we work very hard to get to where we are today, and I think it's also very hard to show just from slides or from a video and things like that. But I wanted to share one video, and this is one of our chefs. Yes, and
Continue up this road along Gaza's seafront. You will reach the Israeli-controlled Suez crossing. But the vast majority of Palestinians, that's as far as they can go. We're told life in Gaza is the worst it's ever been. Demonstrations had definitely
the house behind my house is a boy, this girl. She had an problem because she alone in the home. We had a problem because we lost the baby. We lost the second
Sick, yeah, sick. Yes, I'm free to cry also now. Yes, sure, but no choice. And I want search to better life. No future for my family, no future for me here in Kenya. I'm learning accounting, but without war. Every day crying, every day this is my family, this big family together. Correct, without electricity, without water, but with family. Better. Because and the first Ramadan cannot buy for my children clothes. I don't have money.
I actually talked to her how has her life improved, and she also mentioned to me that now she can just send back money to her families in Gaza. They're really striving really hard, and it should give them a chance to prove themselves that they can actually offer food on the table and make sure that kids have shelter above their head. I think this Ramadan is all about sharing. It's about sharing meals together with families. It's about sharing meals together with someone who is not as privileged as all of us. And coming from a different background and religion base, we believe that
we all have to support each other as one humankind, not separate ourselves from all sorts of barriers, but all of us has to come together to support each other to make a better world at the end of the day.
Oh yes. So yeah, previously we used to call ourselves the teacher project. Then after that we rebrand ourselves to teacher Eats. Yeah, so I just wanted to share with you all, my journey and hopefully to also be able to inspire and yeah, and if you guys have any questions and if you guys still are thinking, if I'm a student today, if I'm a staff today, if I'm a whoever today, how can I, with whatever that I have, my abilities, limited abilities or whatever, how can I still make a change in the community? And I think also, like, if you are still not sure, I put my email down there. You can actually email me, and we are always looking for things like intern, part-timers, volunteers, whatever. And if you guys have free time and things like that, you can always volunteer. And just to share a little bit on MAT, right? So MAT actually stands for making a difference, and basically you have to be bad enough to make a difference. And what we are trying to do here is that I'm trying to create a platform to connect more volunteers and NGOs. So today, if for example, if today, if you want to do something good, where do you go to? You probably go to, on Google and say, oh yeah, organization in Malaysia to volunteer, or you actually go to a body in your universities or things like that. So what I'm trying to create is a platform to actually connect both volunteers and NGOs. It's like a group, it's like a Airbnb, for example, or Tinder where you can find the perfect match. Where in this case you can find the organization that suits you the best, right? And yeah, so that is on the way currently. And if you need any sort of place that you want to give out your time, your internship, work 5 hours per week or so, you can always drop me an email. That's my email below there. Yeah, yeah. I think that concludes my presentation. I guess. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Swee. It was really inspiring. So I know listening to what you've shared with us right now is the takeaway message is definitely that you don't have to be someone to do something great, right? All you need is to have the heart and inspiration and the ability to network with the right team of people to start something, isn't it? So, do you have any questions for Swee? I mean, you mentioned that you have openings for volunteers and stuff for Future Eats. What sort of role will your volunteers play?
I think it depends on, it really depends on the hours that you can give, your skills, and what you want to learn. I think that's the most important part before we talk about any sort of role. Yeah, so why I also put my background is because, we always have to think like, I'm an engineer, I don't know, I'm a civil engineer, for example, I don't know what to do. Or I'm a medical student, I'm not sure how can I do work this out. But I think just to share is that I think like my partners, one of them, my background is in accounting finance, right? And my partners is in, one of my partners is psychology, and my other partner is actually studying music previously. So to me, I think in terms of background or things like that, I think it's just a way. I think even for me at that time, just to share a little bit, is that I was actually an actuarial science student. I don't know whether you know what that is, but so an actuarial science student is basically you will go into it when you think, oh yeah, okay, my math's not bad, right? But after that you realize that, oh, okay, maybe this is not something that I want to do. Then I switched to accounting finance. So I think in life, I think, we are all still very young. Whether you are, if you were to take an example where you look at McDonald's or KFC, they started their journey when you're 50. So for all of us here, it's not too late at all, right? So I think to share a little bit is where, whatever that we pursue currently, whether we are in the medical field, law, engineer, accounting, whatever, I think it's part of our journey, but I think to move forward, things can change. And I think just continue exploring, like I mentioned earlier, keep on learning, keep on exploring, find out what is your passion in, what you want to do. And not necessarily, it has to be the traditional route, if you know what I mean.
Very much. Any questions? Anyone? Students? You all took down the email address. You can email her and ask whatever questions you want, since I think most of you are very shy to openly ask. So with that, let's give Miss Swee another round of applause, and thank you so much for your time and for your wonderful sharing. Thank you very much, Swee. Thank you, everyone.